Hey nerds. Uh, After watching episode 2, season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead, I decided to sleep on it because I was so tired. And I'm really disappointed that I didn't have the energy to review it uh, before it was still fresher in my head. However, I am very um, heart wrenched, I guess. You can't see my emotion. Heart wrenched. I'm heart wrenched right now because of what happened this episode, and I felt kind of like I put a foot in my mouth with my last set of predictions, especially because of the way Walking Dead functions, and considering that they're trying to do something different. While at the same time, it seems like this is how they should have been doing things all along. Maybe it shouldn't have been so spaced out. That main character died. But of course, they are using that dramatic irony to, I don't know if they're trying to be nihilists here with how the characters are going to approach life, or at least Madison, considering she was so distraught and though she got what she wanted, kinda. So, I guess I should talk about the thing I keep avoiding talking about directly. Travis is dead. Travis died not in, not trying to survive, not trying to particularly survive in the moment, not trying to defend someone he loved life, not going on a murderous rampage because someone pissed him off. One bullet. One fucking bullet. And it's very unlikely that he would have lived, considering you could hear his windpipe whistling before he dropped. Um, and I'm sure there was a lot of people who weren't sure if they should laugh or cry in the whole I'm helping. I'm helping. I mean, I don't know, like, to he kind of died a Glenn death in a way, and how he approached it. Oh crap! I just remembered in the end of the first episode this season, he quoted Glenn, um, just saying, "I'll find you." And of course, he gets the fate that in main series Maggie thought happened to Glenn, where he died somewhere out there in the world and never got to actually experience it. Although in this version, the widow, Madison, gets to hear secondhand from her daughter how Travis died, which sounds a lot like a Greek tragedy to me. It just really feels like that. But then again, Walking Dead just tries to like just pull everything out of you, so you gotta um, think about inspiration. And I'm sure at some point, like talking about families and death and try and create new families, especially so early in the apocalypse, um, they decided, now we'll shake things up right here. I think this was planned for a very long time, especially considering Travis's breakdown from morality. And it kind of mirrors his son in a way because his son was trying to be an activist at the top of the apocalypse. He was a misunderstood kid. He didn't know where to go, but he had a lot of good in him, right? And the world slowly tore that away, and the things that you had to do and the things you had to be when he kind of when his emotional equilibrium finally arrived, his moral status had just plummeted, or I should say, his value of human life. Whereas Travis started with a very high sense of human life, trying to preserve it at every turn, even to the detriment of him and his family. Finally, eventually, not even being forced to, but being shown just how ugly, how super ugly the world can be, and not even the catastrophe, but like just people. So that's just fear the Walking Dead, fear other humans. he snaps and he can't stop himself because he's so angry. Whatever was up with Travis, um, I hope we see in flashbacks through Madison or Nick. I'm thinking it has to be heavy. It has to be really, really heavy. And back in the episode before this, they talked a lot about his heritage and how he's different. You know, I thought it was funny that he was claiming he couldn't turn, just like that guy in the village Nick was in all last season, damn near. Well, not all last season, like half last season. Which, by the way, looks a lot like, at least from the inside of the cabin they get at the end of the episode, a lot like that place. So I feel like that place is going to fall in a very similar fashion. Which pretty much means that my guessing skills, that they'll somehow be able to do it completely differently and surprise me completely. That being said, final moments of Travis was making me, I'm not sure what the what makes grammatical sense here. But correct me, nerds, in the comments if you like. The final moments of Travis were very sad and encapsulated just how much he valued human life in the end. Remember I was talking about parallels of Chris? Even though once he had come through the other side of the darkness, I think he still valued human life to a very great extent. He definitely wasn't as savage as Madison. But if Madison was in a helicopter, that probably would have happened to her. The kind of randomness of death and how it can hit you even in this world is going to be a constant theme in pretty much any Walking Dead you see, regardless of how your eyeballs and / or ears interpret it. Digest it? Anyway, I'm turning the camera too much. Ooh. Okay, so after the helicopter ride, I was expecting to see an episode just of them kind of dealing with it, and maybe small cuts to Madison and Nick. Actually, by the time we cut away from Madison and Nick waiting outside the gates of this new town, I'm thinking we're not seeing them again for another episode. I'm thinking they're gonna, split it. But subverting expectation, especially considering fans might get a little weary of rehashes of those processes through which the story could evolve, and not like leaving Nick and Madison there for weeks or days, or do some sort of time skip to show that they bonded with the people there now already for some reason. We jumped around almost every place, and I'm wondering if the next episode, or maybe the episode after that, will explore what's happening with our other survivor and see what happened with her, because apparently she's in America, which is kind of cool. And I wonder if eventually, I was gonna say Travis and the guys, Madison and the peeps will will even want to go to America, because now, because Travis isn't choosing what they're doing, Madison is definitely not diverting from her plans easily. No one's going to be able to talk her down very easily, especially not Nick. I say especially not Nick. Nick is a big wild card. His sister will probably have a way better job talking Madison down from murdering everyone, like Rick Grimes in the main series suggested when they got to Alexandria and he's all dark and looking very menacing and saying, if we have to, we'll take this place. Which is just a paraphrase, really, of what Madison says. Or I should say, she's paraphrasing Rick. And you really see it in her eyes. And I really appreciate that. And I'm wondering who will be the last one standing amongst the three. Because the fact that Lucinia is alive is important for them, but not important for the progression of the story, because the more this series goes on, the more I realize it's really about this family at the very end. Now, I don't know how long they're going to keep Strand around. I hope for a while, because he's a potential love interest for Madison, as well as Eye Patch Guy, I think, maybe. And does she have another potential love interest? I guess, I don't know, just those two, as far as I'm thinking in my head. Or at least, if there are, those are the only ones that I'm shipping. That being all said, the thing that happened with Strand is just like super bad luck and also super ironic. And I think it's funny. I shouldn't say I know, because I didn't, because I wasn't watching these episodes as they were airing, but I can imagine many people of color being like, man, they just threw that person of color under the bus. I mean, they're people of color too, but they just threw the more people of color under the bus. Obviously, he put them in a tight situation, and this is a world about surviving. The fact that they didn't put him down and say that he ran away says volumes, and actually reflects the family leaving the military compound at the end of last episode. Not in a way that it like gets swallowed by walkers. That was a cool scene, that episode. But in the way that they were allowed a vehicle. Well, sorry, Strand wasn't allowed a vehicle at all. He claimed a vehicle, you know. And it's really awesome that he gets an awesome car and he gets to dress really well. I wonder who he'll meet on the road. And I'm wondering if he'll actually hit up our other survivor, whose name I can't remember, which I'm pretty sure is Danielle, but I didn't want to embarrass myself. Yeah. But I hope he runs into Mass, and yeah, I wonder what type of journey he'll have, because I'm pretty sure he won't have that car for long. If the boat is any indication of how well Strand can keep vehicles in the apocalypse. Although that's like going from an airship to like a motorcycle, if it was an RPG. Anywho, the relevance of human life was very important. I think they tried to parallel, I forget this woman's name too, her death, the person that Strand tried to help, and not tried to get to not die by not eating, starvation suicide, when she actually jumped off. I think it was supposed to parallel when Travis was trying to get out of the helicopter before he turned. It really shows like this thing about selfishness, and The Walking Dead is like this big thing about selfishness because of the way that horror movies generally work. The people who are the most selfish generally are punished the most. Generally, I'm shaking my hand. Walking Dead sometimes subverts that maybe through a person's selfishness, and they can survive for a little bit longer. But in the long term, it's better to be as a group that trusts one another than to be alone and selfish, or to be a part of a group and selfish. That's the worst. The fact that she didn't want to go on, the fact that, sorry, switching from Travis to the lady that jumped off the balcony, it's funny that I thought that maybe she joined Strand. I thought that would be an interesting pair, two older characters together, you know, having their own scenes. I thought that would be cool. But, you know, don't let her live, apparently. But, I mean, it would have broken character, right? Because she was still distraught. I was going to say, I wonder what she gave Strand. She gave Strand car keys. She gave Strand the car keys. Oh, gosh, that's so awesome. Sorry, I didn't realize that till just now, because they had like this little glow from inside the box, but didn't show you what it was. Like they were referencing Pulp Fiction in the suitcase. And I'm like, there's not a lot of things in that small ass box that could help Strand. Why is he even looking even mildly pleased at this? And it's like, oh wait, it was a card, a birthday card at that. And a car that does not feel like it would fit the person it was supposed to go to, that probably barely legal married girl who was the second to turn when her grandfather ripped her throat out. If you aren't caught up on Fear the Walking Dead, I suggest you go backwards because a lot of stuff happened and it's awesome. Returning to the whole, it's the family story and no one else's, the fact that Licinia is still alive is a plot device to keep them from going too crazy and for the kind of their antagonist right now to have some leverage, I feel. It's kind of like when Carol was at that hospital in Atlanta and trails off. This episode didn't have too much zombie violence, other than the woman who gets eaten, which is hilarious in that this show loves making me eat my own words because I said she's going to be more important later, or she might be more important later. And the show saw me and was like, more important later, you say? Let's connect her emotionally to almost every character in this new family. Now let's kill her. It was super messed up. I wasn't as broken as I was with the Travis death, obviously, because she barely got like 10 lines, I guess, even. But it was just really sad, and dude was distraught. And for a second, it was like, are you gonna kill yourself too? This episode like really, really cares about suicide and why you do it. But the fact that he kept going on, whether it was for his family or to help the woman that he was with, who knows? Only he can tell us, and he probably will eventually. I think that this is going to be about these two families clashing. I wonder if there's anyone else in the family that is the military family that kind of runs the compound, this new compound. Although if not, I think it also foreshadows Licinia either not staying in their party or dying just from the count of, if it's just 3, I feel like they'll keep it even for, you know, the rule of 3s or something. Although technically, since she's kind of incapacitated right now, we only have 3 active members of our party. So, I mean, I guess it is still 3 on 3. Can't remember Nick's sister's name, but she was savage with the headshots. She might have the most Walker kills now behind Madison, who's alive at this point. Sorry, of people who are alive in Fear. I think that she's becoming a really, really strong, awesome character. I'm wondering who they're gonna make bite it first, her or Nick. I really think Madison's gonna survive longer than at least one of her kids. I did just realize in my head that all this talk of family and like kind of like the core family being what the show is about is kind of interesting, because if you think about it, like, let's say it like this, some metaphors, a protective covering over the family are these other people that they're cooperating with and trying to help. And the series is isolating them from these characters and eventually each other. And family is what is keeping them together physically, but emotionally the world is tearing them apart. And it challenges them. And they have to change together or they won't all survive. That's kind of a thesis of Fear the Walking Dead in my head. Now, it didn't occur to me until just now that Travis wasn't technically part of the family since he married in. And by association, neither his ex-wife nor his son are of the core group. So if they were going to take the route I just kind of said, which I hope I just didn't like just totally mess up and they kill everyone but Strand or something, it's kind of not cosmic justice like Madison says, but just cosmic fuckery that they, the world is kind of swallowing families, you know, like whole sets of people are dying. And on a massive scale, you see this, right? We even have references to other countries and wondering, you know, geographically, if they've been helped, or climate-wise, if that helps or anything like that. All these different conditions that they can't really measure because of the fall of society. But to have even a 4-person family die all at once is kind of like a really, really, I almost want to say Mesopotamic, like just like really savage way of like the world like cleansing itself, because you know like no one's safe, and the idea that family is actually what gets you killed is an interesting idea in an apocalypse situation, but given the comparisons of Madison's core family and all the other families that have been shown in Fear, it's obvious that there's something about her, or maybe something about how she raised them, or something about something they all share that isn't shared by others that they run into. And I don't mean like on a, if they were real and like everyone was in the world trying to survive. I mean what the show is trying to make us see. And through the representation of them surviving continuously while the families around them die, even quote unquote families that seem to assimilate or become their family, it's obvious that there might be something tying them together that they will all fully come to understand, other than the fact that they're okay with killing and putting on zombie makeup. I rambled there for a minute, but it made me really sad to think of Travis as not part of the family, and I know that he died from a, like kind of randomly. Whereas, well, I mean, if you want to get technical, if he died randomly, then Chris damn sure died randomly because the car crash is the thing that made him too injured to keep going with the frat boys. And then, of course, getting bit is basically always random. So his ex-wife is just like, well, I mean, unless you get intentionally bit. So, I mean, you could argue both sides of that, of all of them dying randomly. Or you can argue that, of course, because the show decided when and how they died, that isn't as important as, not even the way they died, but the way they lived their lives. And might even be an example of, because we have this kind of disconnected son, and we had an ex-wife, a guy who was between two families. One family is the family that survives, the other family is the family that doesn't. Even just being connected to that other family didn't even lead to his death. The only one who got to die technically around the people that they cared about was the ex-wife, since she got put down with Travis watching. And of course, oh, he died from a bullet, she died from a bullet. He probably died before he hit the ground, by the way, which is one of the things I'm like, please die before you hit the ground. That makes me feel a whole lot better. But I am wondering if someone's gonna do some fan art of like a zombie Travis, like just split open on a tree, like his spine just... If you're interested, nerds, please do me a solid. Do some fan art of Travis's decaying corpse and how that might become an environmental walker for somebody. And the spine just kind of dangles them down and it just takes a little nibble. The show brings the best and the worst out of me, nerds. And I think I'll end it there. This is about the same amount of time as my last review. And I like the kind of longer review. It's nice. And if you haven't noticed the white walls, I'm in a new place. So I do have a lot more freedom in terms of doing videos and how much I can do videos. So I'm really excited about that. Also, I want to acknowledge that I did 2 separate reviews instead of doing one big review, which I'm super happy I did, considering so much has happened and there was so much to talk about. because these two episodes, as I understand it, did air at once. Well, the same day, one after the other. Correct me if I'm wrong. But now 3 episodes behind, so I might hit you with another review today. Hope you are having a good. This is the weekend. It feels like the weekend for me. Oh, the weekend just ended. Hope you have a good week. Enjoy your Monday, and see you later.